don't have at least those details, but I believe the terms of reference of those documents are not negotiable. These are mandatory. Now, I also believe that there is a clause on a good neighborly behavior of new member states, which means that SCO is seeking or visualizing a peace treaty between India and Pakistan, who are going to join perhaps next year. In any way, the case of India's membership, as also Pakistan, I believe, is in the respective parliaments of the member states for ratification. Hopefully, they ratify the document and next year we become full member. But as of now, we are exceeding member, we are not full member of the SCO. Now, the question is why India is interested in SCO. And here I think it is mainly linked to Central Asia, India's interest in Central Asia, which is deeper than the exigencies of diplomacy. India had a long emotional connection with Central Asia, deeply rooted in history. In fact, threat to India always came from the geographic northwest, mostly invasions, foreign invasions that challenged the evolution of Indian history or politics. Today the threat is embodied by terrorism coming from the same geographical space. Now, India's position in this region has weakened due to creation of Pakistan some 60, 70 years ago. Therefore, overcoming this is the biggest challenge for India. As Foreign Secretary said, that India is an aspiring power. Therefore, we need to enhance diplomatic presence, regardless of economic interest in this region. So therefore, Indian philosophy of joining SCO is very clear. Have a presence. Now this is born out of a basic dilemma. Not having a presence is detrimental to Indian interest, but establishing a presence is very difficult because there are few options available for India. And therefore, there are no other appropriate forum than the SCO to be present in Central Asia. Therefore, I think India seeks every opportunity to enhance its relationship or contact in whatever field available, but mostly in the field of energy, connectivity, defense, security, people to people, economic, trade, and all these things are of interest to India. Now, you know, the membership has been delayed for a variety of reasons, mainly by China. Russia supported it. But this may be linked to geopolitics. I think China was unsure about the interest of India. All these things, whether China is non-aligned, China has a, whether strategic autonomy or Indo-US relationship, all these things perhaps factored, and therefore this delayed the process of its entry. It's only recently that Russia and China started showing interest for SCO's expansion, partly because of the Russian standoff with the West, and partly because the Chinese wanted to push their this Belt and Road initiative in Asia. Of course, there may be other security imperatives about the Afghan situation, the growth of ISIS, rising terrorist incident in Xinjiang. All these things perhaps may have factored into the expansion of SCO. Now, there are also perhaps the need to revitalize the SCO, giving more teeth to this organization, which was essentially a paper tiger. Nothing has actually moved in the last 15-20 years since its creation. Now, the question is, how will India benefit from joining SCO? In fact, many informed Indian community don't quite understand why India has to join a body led by China as a junior partner, and the interests are not well defined. This is asked by a lot of people, and there are no easy answer to this. There are also some impression that the SCO was floated by China to only take care of its own domestic interests, especially about separatism in Xinjiang. And secondly, there was an impression that achievements are not very, very significant. Whatever they have achieved, this is an index of bilateral initiative between China and other countries. It was also seen that this is a club of autocrats kept afloat by Chinese funding. So these are the factors that came into to the discourse when we talk about SCO. But as I said, India's rationale for joining SCO is about enhancing its stakes in terms of security, political, economic, and strategic in the region. Now let me highlight some important issues. This is certainly linked to regional security, especially about terrorism. Not enough information available on the SCO anti-terrorist structure which exists in Tashkent, but I believe theoretically India could benefit from this structure in terms of sharing intelligence information about the movement of terrorists, drug traffickers, and many other things that we know very little about what's happening in this region. There are also other issues, of course, about social, economic, environmental, water issues, many other issues that in this area, in this country, we have very few understanding. I think the SCO can give us some information or advance our knowledge through the structures. Now, secondly, Foreign Secretary talked about in the morning about the connectivity. Now, this is puts us in a very disadvantageous position in terms of cost and distance for trading. Several initiatives lies about the North-South Transport Corridor, Chabahar Port, and the Ashgabat Agreement. But now this Belt and Road Initiative by China has put another challenge to India. And I think SCO is about how to find a convergence of interest, whether in terms of Eurasian Economic Union or with the Chinese obor. I think Foreign Secretary said this is a very open issue. There is scope for discussion on this on a consultative manner. So there are also institutions under the SCO like intergovernmental agreements on transport and transit facilities that could be utilized by India in terms of enhancing its connectivity quest in the region. And thirdly is the interest in energy. It's another avenue where India could think about investment in oil field, in the long distance pipeline. Some breakthrough we have made with Kazakhstan in terms of nuclear fuel supplies, oil and gas explorations in offshore field in Caspian. I think India is also optimistic about TAPI despite all the security concerns. And then the SCO is talking about energy club. I think it's only after Iran becomes a full member of SCO, India will be able to exploit or at least harness the energy benefits through this organization. However, I think navigating through the SCO is not going to be easy one for India. A lot of risk and contradictions. Take the case of terrorism. We know the Chinese positions, the double speak, using Pakistan as a proxy, use of Pakistan's terror instrument, and China's geopolitical interests. I think these are going to be complicating factor for India. Of course, there are some expectations. some benefits that we see. For example, India has a functional bilateral relationship on security issues with each Central Asian countries, on joint working groups on terror. But I agree that the collective approach would be a bit different than having bilateral one. Now, another important issue is how SCO is going to impinge on India-Pakistan relationship when these two countries join as full member. Again, it seems that Russia and some other countries are keen to make SCO as a pivot for a thaw in India-Pakistan relationship. This has been tried, as mentioned earlier in the deliberation, that Russia has tried in 1965. And now Russia is trying to improve its relationship with Pakistan, perhaps with this reason, or perhaps it has some other reasons to improve relationship with Pakistan. But I think any SCO's interjection in the India-Pakistan conflict is not going to be useful or maybe successful. It is also clear that the SCO is unlikely to break the traditional Sino-Pakistani nexus, which is mainly about a strategic containment of India. So this is not going to change just because the SCO has come about. I think together they could still bring Kashmir onto this new regional grouping and making things very, very complicated. But of course there are also positive things. For example, SCO offers a range of diplomatic and security platform where the members could interact with each other, including the militaries of perhaps Pakistan and India too would be joining the joint military exercises and also anti-terror structures together. But there are also risks about India-Pakistan could be blamed for the SCO's ineffectiveness in the future. They keep citing SAARC, the member countries, and there are regional misgivings about the role of Pakistan and India in the SCO. President Karimov, the former president of Uzbekistan, last year mentioned that this could change the character of the new grouping. Now let me also say that the SCO will remain a very fragile grouping. In fact, the position of the Central Asian countries themselves fluctuate from time to time according to their interest. They are also not opposed to bilateralism. They did. Country like Uzbekistan opted out number of times, joined again from various multilateral groupings. Also internally, I think domestically the Central Asian regional security is more about regime security, which SCO supports. We haven't made a position on that, but regional security is always important for India. So therefore, this ideological issue hasn't come up onto the table. Now, despite all this optimistic optimism at the various fronts, the real significance of India's participation in the SCO will be obscured by other priorities. Currently, I think the SCO is mainly welded on the Russia-China strategic equation, but we really don't know the future of Russia-China ties, the prospects of realignment. I was just in Russia, how the Chinese were worried about the Russia's possible reorientation of its foreign policy towards the Atlantic world with the United States rather than in the East. And this could be a possibility. We really don't know how things will take shape, and this is going to impact organization like SCO or One Belt, One Road of China. Now for India, there is also the limiting factor of geography, the lack of deep pockets as compared to China, and there are problems about language of Russian and the Chinese, which is the official language of the SCO. I don't think they are going to introduce English. Somewhere I read that this will not be an issue. Also about scholarship, therefore, in dealing with the Eurasian dynamics, it's going to be a challenging one. But at the same time, India has an advantage, the tremendous goodwill for India in the region, seen as a reliable partner because of the Soviet, Indo-Soviet, what Ambassador just talked about, long image. And India can also, I think, offer a lot of things, especially its techno-economic capabilities, its experience in dealing with multiple issues of society, religion, race, cultures. I think these are very attractive. How India dealt with Afghanistan is a clear example, and the Central Asians do appreciate the role of India in this. And finally, I would say that if India manages anything in SCO, it will be rather very, very small. Let it be very, I think, clear. But there is no diplomatic risk if nothing substantive comes in the long run. I think SCO is not so much of a priority in Indian foreign policy as compared to BRICS. That's the general impression here. But I think limited immediate benefits for joining SCO will be more than compensated for by improved diplomatic access to Central Asia. That's the basic objective of India. It's nothing very, very, very grandiose, nothing very, very strategic, but it's very basic about trying to improve relationship with these countries. Thank you.